Okay, this is a very quick video to demonstrate how to use the Rocktron Midi Mate along with the Fractal Audio Axe FX. So, I'm going to start off at the Midi Mate itself, and for this demonstration I'm going to be demoing how to use it in the controller mode, which enables you to assign the first 5 buttons here to presets, and then buttons 5 through 9 you can actually assign to various effects, your tuner, your tap tempo, etc., and be able to tap in and out within those effects. So the first thing we do is press the access button and bring it down to controller mode. As you can see, it's brought me to preset number 1, and that coincides with preset number 1 on my Axe FX, which is no one higher. The names that you see on the Rocktron have to be programmed manually, so it's not kept in sync. So this is just programmed in. I just did one for you to be able to see this example. Now, the one thing you'll notice that you might get to this point with your own and find that these numbers are out of sync, and that's because the Rocktron communicates on MIDI channel 0 through 127, whereas the Fractal Audio doesn't start with 0, it starts with 1. So what we can do to fix that is real quickly just go to the I/O button, press that, and then use the page right button, which is this one here, and move it until you see MIDI. So you should be saying MIDI there. It's the third page on this particular version of the OS. And there you can see we have the MIDI channel. So I've set this up to be on MIDI channel 1. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. But the key thing here is this display offset. Display offset out of the box comes as 0. You need to adjust the dial button and move it to be a 1. When display offset is a 1, then you'll find that when you go to recall that the presets on the Axe FX will match the number on the Rocktron Midi Mate. Okay, so back to the Rocktron Midi Mate. So what we're going to do now is set up the Rocktron to be on channel 1. We already saw that the Axe FX is on channel 1, so how would you do that? First thing we do is press the second button, which allows us to start utilizing the special functions on the Midi Mate. So we're going to use this edit function select key, and as you can see, it's got titles, MIDI channels, controller, sign, program changes. First thing we're going to do is we're going to scroll to MIDI channels. So up comes MIDI channel. So the Midi Mate is set to communicate on channel 1. That's for system 1 or set 1 channels. And what that means is that anything from this controller within terms of the presets will come out of that. We also need to move along using the same function to go and set the buttons to be the same. So if I scroll forward, that's my son's hand there, you can see we have button 5 as set to channel 1. So I'm going to set my button 5 through 9 to all be on channel 1, because when I use these buttons I want them to communicate with my Axe FX, which is listening on channel 1. So all of these need to be assigned to channel 1. So button 5 is already channel 1. Button 6 is channel 1. Button 7 channel is off. So we're going to use the bank adjust button. We're going to press up and we're going to set it to 1. So anytime that this button is engaged, it'll be communicating on MIDI channel 1. Let's move along. Button 8 is already set to 1, and button 9 is set to 1. So now what we've done is we've set up the controller so that it will communicate only pretty much on MIDI channel 1. As I only have one Axe FX and I don't use any other MIDI controllers or any MIDI devices, that's fine. I'm going to use them all on MIDI channel 1. The next step, though, is to assign the program changes to that. So if I move on, I'm going through, this is the pedal's off. The pedal is if you want to attach an expression pedal. There's a in the back of the Midi Mate, you've got your pedal input. You can put your pedal in there. So let me go back to these menus. So now we're going to go to, we've done MIDI controller, we're going to do controller assign. So we've done MIDI channels. So the pedal is off, I'm fine with that. Button 5 has a value of 5. Now don't confuse the two. This is the controller assignment, not the MIDI channel. The MIDI channel is 1, the controller assignment is 5. That's good. I'm going to leave it at that. Button 6 I've set to be 6 just so I can remember these. Button 7 is off, so let's go ahead and put a value of 7 on that so we'll remember what button 7 is. and then button 8 is set to 8, button 9 is set to 9. So with that, we are done. We won't go into programmable patches, we'll just come out of that. So now what we've done is we've set up the Midi Mate 1 is everything from the Midi Mate is going to communicate on channel 1, whether it's a preset change using one of these buttons. So for example, if I was to press button 2 right now, it moves me to Midi 2, which is my second preset, let the praises ring, Midi 2. So back to the Midi Mate, we've set that up, but also what we want to set up now is the ability to use some of these buttons 5 through 9 to actually control effects. Maybe the key one is to switch off your delay, for example. So let's now go to the Axe FX and set that up. Okay, so what we're going to do now is set up the Axe FX to be able to communicate and understand what the messages are coming from the Midi Mate that we've set up. So press the I/O button and go to the MIDI page, which we've already seen. MIDI channel set to 1, display offset is set to 1. Everything else I haven't touched. Now I'm going to move to the control button. And on the control page, we have the tempo tap. So the famous tap tempo, probably the first things you'll want to do is set this up. And I have this listening on 9. So if you remember, I set button 9 to be my tap tempo, and I gave it the value of 9. So it's communicating on MIDI channel 1, and it's sending a value of 9. So when the Axe FX hears on MIDI channel 1 and the control assignment on 9, it's going to know that that's sent to the tap tempo. You can also see here the next one down is the tuner, and I've set that to 8. So if I want to go into tuner mode, I just press button 8 on my Rocktron Midi Mate, and then it'll go into the tuner mode. If we move down here, one of the key ones that I always set up is my delay. So if we move down to the delay, you'll see that I've set delay 1 to be on channel 5, not channel 5 rather, but have value 5, and delay 2 to be on value 6. So those are the two things that I've really set up at this point. So for now, I'm going to go back to my preset, and I'm going to show you the layout. So I'm going to pick one here. So if you can see on this, I have two delay blocks, and right now they're both engaged. Let me put that back onto layout mode. Now if you look at my controller, one of them is not engaged, the second one, that's the one that's assigned to 6. So I'm going to press the 6 button on my controller, number 6, and then if you look at the screen, it's become a little black, so it's become engaged. So you can see it toggling off and on there as I switch it on and off. And then that's the same for MIDI 5. For button 5, I've set that to be delay 1. So I just press that button, it switches it on and off. If I press the 9 button, it'll do my tap tempo, but in this example you won't be able to see anything, so I'll put on the tempo screen, which is just pressing the tempo button on the front of the Axe FX, and you can see it's currently 113, so I'm going to go really fast and put in a 211 BPM tap tempo, so you can see that that actually affected the tempo there. And if I press number 8 on my Midi Mate, it should bring up the tuner. So there you can see, there's the tuner going haywire right now as my son's playing on my guitar with the volume down. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That should get you up and running. The presets are controlled through 0 through 1 through 4. I've set them with the delay offset, and then the buttons 5 through 9 control the effects within that patch. So hopefully that's of use to those of you who've just started out with your Midi Mate and Axe FX.